Am I a great designer? No. Putting a big ass 05 and FB on everything, that's not a great designer. I'm a great distributor. I'm a great marketer. I have a lot of celebrities that will carry in crates for somebody like, I remember when Flex was carrying crates for a guy named Chuck Chillout, and you know what I mean? I can call that guy. I've been helping with these 3 girls that could never get a show named the Kardashians or Pitbull or Lennox Lewis or LL or any of these people, right? I can market. I can put it on people. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to go out and create a whole fashion brand, no matter how much money I have. Why? Because if I create a fashion brand, that's going to take me at least a year to create a whole brand. Even when I was at the top of my game, what am I going to do? No. I'm going to take a logo and put it on one shirt and give Hype Williams or Benny Boom or somebody $10,000 to put in the video, and I'm going to look at the phone to see if it rings.
We sound crazy.
Welcome to another week of We Sound Crazy. Phillionaire is in the building.
Claude Kelly is in the building.
Chuck Harmony is in the building.
But we're not alone.
We're not alone.
Far from alone.
We're at the Roux Theater here at the National Museum of African American Music here in Nashville, Tennessee. But we got a very special guest here today.
I would agree. Yes.
I mean, the receipts, I want you to know, like, there's so many awards. This brother's won, so I'm not gonna go through every award, but
it would take the whole podcast.
It would take the whole podcast.
The receipts.
Yeah, we're talking about you.
We were talking about you. There can only be one.
But he's the founder, president, chief executive officer of Fubu, legend. He's an investor on the ABC series Shark Tank, as well as a New York Times and Wall Street Journal best-selling author. He's a serial entrepreneur, but today we're gonna talk about his new book. It's a children's book. Daymond Learns to Earn. I can't wait to talk about this and so much more. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise. Daymond John is in the building.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for taking some time, man. This is an honor. It really is.
You squeezed me in, and I appreciate it. I know I'm on your time, and I know called last minute, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
No, this is a pleasure. I mean, the first thing is that we're happy to have you in the museum. We're at the National Museum of African American, which I know you'll be inspired and love. But the whole purpose of this Roux Theater is to keep reminding people about the importance of Black music and Black culture. And it feels like it's been a long overdue for us to have a Black music museum, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, what are some of your earliest music memories? I'm just curious to know. Let's take it all the way back, right?
I don't know, earliest music memories. So I'm half Trinidadian, and
come on, West Indies. You know what I'm saying? Jamaica in the building too.
Yeah. So going to Caravana and Soca and all those type of artists. I would spend summers over in Trinidad. Mighty Sparrow and Calypso and various other things. But then also coming up, and I always think it's the way that everybody grew up, especially in our community, is Saturday, Sunday, cleaning up the house, listening to, Stevie Wonder or Billie Holiday or any of those things growing up was just, I don't need to tell you, it's the soundtrack of our lives. It was the most amazing time of our lives, and just a special moment of being around, whether it is around a table of gathering or coming home from church, or just those special times. I think I felt safe, and I think I felt that I was just home. I was home with my family. I didn't think of anything else in the world besides allowing the OJs to help me dream. And of course, at that time, coming up, we listened to all music. I mean, that was on the air. I mean, I loved David Bowie and, Hall & Oates just as much as I loved, Miles Davis or anybody else. And I happened to grow up in a very, very musical town. I grew up in Hollis, Queens, and Hollis, Queens is a very small area of...
legendary Hollis, Queens.
Queens, New York, yeah. And at one moment, there was this devastating drug that destroyed our entire country. And so we saw, those are the images we saw of entrepreneurs. We didn't see any we never really saw entrepreneurs at the time. I mean, because the entrepreneurs in the neighborhood, you didn't see them because they were getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, getting their kids ready for school. They're going to their place of business, working until late 9, 10 o'clock at night, coming home, doing homework with their kids. And then on the weekends, they were trying to further their education, be around like-minded people. We didn't see them. And on TV, I didn't see anybody African-American who was a businessman or woman. I did see one guy, but it didn't look like Fred G. Sanford, the junk man, was doing that well, right? But, I started to see people like Run DMC, LL Cool J, Salt and Pepper, and Tribe Called Quest, and some of the Fat Boys lived there, and again, DJ Clue, and right now, I grew up with Ja Rule, and then you have 50 Cent over here, and Lost Boys, and Intro, and Onyx used to cut my hair, and I was...
You see how you just spit off all those legends?
Yeah, and it's crazy, right? That's crazy. And Bimmy's sister, Deb, lived 5 houses down from me, and her son was Waka Flocka. She managed Gucci Mane, and then she discovered Nicki Minaj, and I grew up in that day. But here was the only problem. I couldn't rap.
One problem.
However, I could dance. And I remember, if you ever listened to the song, Larry Love put me in the Cadillac. He drove me up and never came back. I remember that I auditioned for to be a dancer because there was a space open on the Fresh Fest. No, it wasn't the Fresh Fest, but Houdini's tour. And Larry put me in where I got the job to dance for Houdini. And my mother said, "You ain't going on no tour, boy." So some kid out of, I don't know, Atlanta named Jermaine Dupri took my place. Wow. So I was fortunate enough, and I had, it was fun, right? I at 14 or 16 years old. 16 years old, when we find out the tour was going up and down, the first national rap tour. So it was LL Cool J, Run DMC was headlining, of course. LL Cool J, it was Beastie Boys, Fat Boys, Big Daddy Kane, and Public Enemy, and Houdini. So me and my 3 other buddies, because if it was up in Troy, New York, or Albany, or Spectrum Theater, we would be able to drive down there, or take the train or whatever. Like 20 of us get into a small car and get down there. So because we knew all the bodyguards, because of course rappers weren't getting paid that much, so their bodyguard Mookie and this guy, they all lived in the neighborhood. So we go down there and they would get us in. And so I remember at that time what happened, my life was as big as Hollis, Queens, but at that time my life opened up and I realized, wait a minute, people are making money doing something they love. And we were about 16 years or so, it was me, another kid who said, I'm going to be the biggest in fashion. And he was like, yeah, whatever. Another kid was like, I'm going to be the biggest in, that time he was a graffiti artist, but in creating the arts. Another kid said, man, forget that, I'm going to be the biggest DJ. And another kid, one of my buddies was like, man, I'm going to be the biggest drug dealer. So, by 30 years old, I was Fubu. One of those other kids was Hype Williams, who was filming and shooting $3 million videos. He's going to be the biggest artist. He was a graffiti artist at that time. The other kid was a guy named Irv Gotti, who had formed Murder, Inc., so he became big in who he was. And our other friend became a huge drug dealer because Hype made the movie Belly about him, and he just came home 1 year ago. Wow. So it's amazing. I remember my mother was friends with Ashford and Simpson, and they would come over, and I didn't really know who they were. I didn't know the power of Ashford and Simpson at the time, but yeah, I have a great affinity for music. Some of the greatest stars that I love were the people who helped me through rough times, Stevie Wonder and Bob Marley, and then rap became everything to me,
What was that first encounter with hip hop, like musically?
The first encounter with hip hop was listening to a guy named Spider D, I think it was, or somebody said to me, "Hey, let's go down a block because they're scratching these records." I'm like, they're not gonna be able to use these things after. What are they scratching
good records?
For?
What?
Yeah, and we'd go out to Jamaica Park, and all those rap acts and would come out, and we'd pull the power cords out of the streetlights and plug it into the record players and radios, and we'd break dance. Just 100 of us, and we'd be sitting there watching Run and DMC. And I think it was the first time really was Run said, we're going to treat the kids from the neighborhood. And on that tour, before I got on the tour, he sent a bus, and the bus then took us all up to the Madison Square Garden, and we went in, and that was the first time I ever saw everybody holding their Adidas in the air. But but of course I'm going back. I'm going all over the place. My first real exposure to it was somebody saying they were scratching records, and then I would grow up and look at the movies Beat Street and Breaking and want to be part of it. And because I couldn't, and I think that the reason why I've been blessed with this level of appreciation and success, I think if you read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, he was talking about how Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and 2 or 3 other people came up around. They were all around the same age, because what happened was they were able enough to tinker with this new technology, right? They weren't old enough where they had to, they had responsibility, but they were not young enough where they didn't know what they were doing. And so every, rap wasn't played on regular radio. It was played only on 1 hour, I think, on Friday and Saturday. Mr. Magic would come on at 11 p.m. at night. And then also this little group, I had a college station in Huntington, Long Island named Chuck D and Flavor Flav. And, I forgot, young MCs from Hollis too. And that, there was no other way to get the rap music for the most part. I mean, if you had money, maybe you bought a Sugar Hill Gang, but you wanted to hear what real Roxanne was coming out. You wanted to hear KT, whatever the name was, I forgot, KTU, KTFU, I'm dyslexic. They're kind of battle back and forth, and MC Shan and all that. And so you want to hear, the only time you can do it is then, and that's the only time you can record it, right? So I would stay home at night, and not stay home. I had to stay home. I was 12 probably, right? And I would checkerboard my sneakers and, put my laces in water and iron them until they were perfect. And then I re-dye my Pumas to make it look like I had another pair of sneakers every week. And I would stay there all night and just wait to get those, that song, and I got such fond memories. I don't think I've thought of them in a long time since this conversation, yeah.
Who's you just mentioned a lot of legends. Who's the most intriguing person you've met, and why?
In where?
And why?
The most in general in life?
Yeah.
I think it would be Prince. I think I used to hang out with Prince. I'm not saying that casually. It was an honor, and I used to hang out with him, and the things he would say to me would be so fascinating. But the way he was, I remember him, we were out one night, and he was saying to me, I think there was remember this kid who had an immigration problem, Elaine Gonzalez or something like that?
Elaine Gonzalez.
And
yeah.
something just happened. He just became like, whatever, right? I remember he was sitting there, and he just took the name, and he wrote it, and it said, Alien Go Home. And he wrote it and gave it to me. And he was always just analyzing every single thing that was around him. And he would just, Eddie Griffin is his cousin. It's funny. Eddie Griffin says, man, he's so fascinating. I've been around him all my life. He ain't never look at me directly. He'd just be like this. But it's true. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, I was today years old when I just understood that Eddie Griffin and Prince were cousins.
Yeah, they are. It's fascinating, right? But I used to be in my mother's little hair salon, and I used to sit with this guy. He kept saying, hey, this guy named Teddy Riley is going to put me out somewhere. And I remember growing up after school doing homework with Aaron Hall. It's just I have a lot of fond memories of it, and I always had appreciation for people because I couldn't play an instrument, and I'm a good singer, but as you can see on the Masked Singer, I was robbed clearly. I wouldn't be here with you right now if they would have really understood my talents.
We want justice, damn it.
We sound crazy.
Well, I feel like, listen, I mean, you agree. You named off a lot of people, but you were always so music, hip hop adjacent, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm from New York as well, so there's
Where are you from?
Lower East Side, Manhattan.
Okay, LES.
So you there's a uniqueness to growing up in New York as this stuff was happening and developing and taking shape. It's magic. It was really a magical time. So what you did, you talked about the shoes and dyeing them every week and the laces. Like, I feel like now there's so. I don't want to say that. I'm not complaining. There's a lot more. So you didn't have to be as creative.
Sure.
now as you did back then about keeping your stuff fresh and reinventing yourself.
And there's a lot of information on how to do it now.
Right. So a lot of that creativity we obviously saw come out in different ways, obviously in fashion, right? And which is also extremely drenched in hip-hop culture in every way. So talk about how your inability to rap, right, led to you finding other ways of kind of being a trailblazer and leader in hip-hop anyway.
Yeah, I think that is, that's exactly the point. So I couldn't rap and I was dyslexic. The foundation of what I had created, which I'm not the founder of, which Carl Kanai and Willie Ware and Dapper Dan and Cross Colors inspired me, is something that initially came out of a skill because of poverty, and not necessarily poverty, I would say. So, when I was 11 or 12 years old, and when you were breakdancing, because you love the movie, all the movies about breakdancing, so breakdancing and or apparel, we reinterpreted for the streets the way that we wanted to wear it, right? So if you happen to like Lee's and all those kind of jeans, well, unlike wash jeans that are out today, they're very crisp. And if they were red, yellow, whatever the case is, because you're part of a breakdancing crew, well, we all know if you keep ironing them, well, you're not always going to get it right? You know you're going to get that fade. So now you go to the store, but I didn't have enough money to get a permanent crease put in. It's a really thin stitch just put in here, so it makes you look like you have a crease all the time, right? And it keeps you on point, right? Also, if I'm gonna break dance, I can't have this flapping if they're making it too big. So now I gotta take it in, taper it on the side, right? So my mother showing me how to draw those straight lines, do those lines, at 10 or 11 years old, because I was like, I didn't have money to go to the cleaners to do that. Right, would serve me a purpose 10 years later when I would need to know how to make clothes. And why did I really make clothes? I made clothes because De La Soul, somebody else who had members from Queens, I saw them wearing a hat that looked like a ski cap with a ball, but instead of a ball, it had two strings on it. And I couldn't afford it, so I made that hat. And it was the ability to sew the straight line that when I made the hat. Now, why did I make the hat and why did I start making these shirts? Well, because now these videos being shot around my way. I remember Hype shooting a video called BWA, Bitches with Attitudes. It was shot in the neighborhood and they kicked everybody off the video set. I was like, man, I need to get on that video set. How am I going to get on the video set? So I started to make the Fubu shirts to be like, I'm the stylist. Can't kick me off. And so I didn't really have a love to grow a company. I just wanted it to belong. Right, so now I'm witnessing LL Cool J shooting Hey Lover down, in Queens, and Hypo would bring it back to Queens, and I would be able to say, hey, I'm there. Or he shot Ice Cream at the Coliseum Mall. And if you look at that, Method Man has a Fubu hat on, right? So that's how I started to really feel like I belong. Because now I'm on the set, I'm watching the people that I adore. The whole world is around, to me, these people, and I'm actually I have a reason to belong. I'm definitely hollering at the women on the video. I'm eating all the craft services. I'm like, yo, y'all not gonna eat none of this, right? I'm poor, right. But I'm happy. But I'm happy. So I wanted to belong, and I was happy where I was.
That's the key, though, is what comes out of you wanting to belong.
Yeah.
And I mean, for everyone, really, like the necessity and trying to find your place in it leads to genius, which is what happened.
Well, and it was hard. I mean, as I shared with you, my buddies were people who would, obviously go off and become large drug dealers. I had Supreme Team, who was a documentary about trying to induct me. I had another people over there, and hip-hop at the time, and even till today to some level, was a very homophobic culture. I'm a West Indian. It was a very homophobic culture at the same time. So you try to tell your dudes at 16, 17 years old, they'd be like, yo, D, we're about to go over to 1018, man. We're gonna sell a little something on the streets. We're gonna go out there and we're gonna, make some money. And I go, hey, you guys see the strawberry pattern I just got? Yo, I'm gonna go home.
Crazy.
Yo, dude, man. When I go home and make these strawberry pattern shirts,
be crazy.
I'm caking. They were like, yeah.
They're like, yo, damn,
you
it's
right
tripping, yeah.
You know, but I was cool with, you know, who I am, and I don't have any issue over anybody's sexual preference. I was cool with it. But at that time, it wasn't that easy. But the good thing about it was they ain't have no strawberry patterns to get on the video sets either. So I was on the video set, like, you know, doing what I could do. I had access because I did not go with what the popular thing was. I was doing something I loved.
That's a lesson for the kids out there.
That's definitely a lesson.
We sound crazy.
Give me your top 5 hip hop MCs of all time.
You can't do that to me, man. You just
You just hear what the man is from.
Top 5. I mean,
You're being straight up disrespectful. You just might as well say, do I like Twinkies or Ho-Hos, man? You just disrespectful with this, man. What are you talking about, man?
But come on, Daymond. You've grown up around hip hop. We celebrating hip hop turning 50 this August.
50 years.
I want to know your top 5 MCs. Dead or alive.
Now we did alive. So I can only go off of what my experience has been. A lot of the younger brothers and sisters that today, I don't know them that well, right?
That's fair.
And I'm not going to go in an order, but I'm sorry that Rakim comes first as far as I'm concerned. But remember, that was a very special time in my life. But if I had the name of the top, I mean, you know, it's hard, man. So it would be Rakim, of course. The man who made me is called LL Cool J, and he was able to go through 3 to 4 decades and still be relevant at the type of music that he was creating. But of course you have Nas and Pac, and you got Biggie. I love Drake. I love Lil Wayne. I loved how everybody was being so sexy about how many times they're gonna cameo on a record, and little because their creativity was so. I'm gonna hold it back. And Lil Wayne said, "I'm gonna go ham on oil. I'm gonna go on 80 records this year. Go ahead. You want some more? I got some more of that. You know. So of course I love Drake. And you know the hip hop artists of today. I'm a little bit older. I don't get to listen to them as much as I would like, and sometimes I just don't want to punch somebody in the face. You know, when I'm.
I want to be a piece.
Yeah, I just want to be. I want to have myself
exactly.
You know,
Stevie's for everything and all time.
Oh yeah, Stevie's for everything. Everything all day, right? But again, I named off a couple, but there was so many people like Fear of a Black Planet. When I was walking into the Greek Fest, and it was the first time I just walked onto Jones Beach, and I saw 2 or 3 people on these huge speakers, and they just said, the rhythm, the rebel. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, or going sneaking into the garage, you know, at on a Friday night and having to sleep behind the speakers so I wouldn't get kicked out, and staying there all the way till Sunday morning and sleeping with my book bag on and hearing, you know, that thing just come on and say, whose house? And everybody just, you know, stopped. So, man, and then I remember when we were on the tour, all of a sudden we make it down to Detroit. And at that time, I can't lie, you know, rappers in New York thought they were the only people alive. And they were very disrespectful. And I'm just going to keep it real. I would hear them like in the middle America, yo, you Jerry Curl motherfucker, put your hands up. And people, they had their hands up. And I was like, oh, all good. Till they ran into some Jerry Curl head dudes named NWA in Detroit. And I remember going to my boys going, yo, there were dudes out there. They were throwing bottles at the police, and the police were throwing it back at them. I said, I don't want none of that.
I don't want those problems.
I was like, we ain't keeping it real over here. These cats had on, I don't know, Dockers or whatever. Their stuff didn't look clean, but these dudes had hammers. Then we go down and, you know, I didn't go down on this one. They moved down to Texas and they said, well, there's this dude down there that owns cattle and cows and land now, you know, and this company called Rap-A-Lot. And they're like brothers. I was like, wow, that's amazing. I was like, oh, I never heard of that. But then we make it to Miami. And the first time I heard, don't stop, get it. I look on the stage, what is that?
It's good.
You know, there's so many different aspects of music that I just was, it just shocked me, you know? And then, of course, then Atlanta came up and we were like, wow, I mean, how could I not say Andre?
Yeah, Andre.
You know, Pitt is Pitbull is a good friend of mine. I remember Pitbull saying, yo, Papo. No, he was like, nobody want to beat in a battle with somebody with a blouse. He said, Andre. And then Andre said, yo, Pitt's one of the baddest dudes you'll know. He just decided to go pop, but he bad.
Yeah.
He bad. He said, you don't want to go against Pitt. So anyway, just I'm gonna start rambling, man, because I have so many love.
This is what we want. It's the excitement. We feel the excitement. But
you mentioned LL Cool J, and one of the fascinating stories in your story is the fact that your first national campaign for Fubu, you spent $0 because your friend LL Cool J was able to put the company on. Talk to me about that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So thank you. So LL Cool J had he turned down other offers to be the spokesperson for us, and he had millions of dollars worth of offers on the table. He had a show coming out called In the House, and he said, "I don't know if you're ever going to make it, but I could never look at my community in the face if I didn't support you. So I'm going to do this stuff for you. I don't think you'll get anywhere. It's very hard out there, but." I'm going to give you love. So when the Gap called him up, the Gap was trying to get into the hip hop space, and he basically claims he claims he was a little offended the way they went. The conversation was something like, "Yeah, whatever, whoever your name is, come on in, write this rhyme, and perform the rhyme." And he's like, I got a funny shaped head, because remember that time LL never took his hat off, right? And he said, "Can I wear a company? Can I wear a hat that fits my head? I got a funny shaped head." They said, "Yeah, whatever, Diddy. We know you're never gonna stop. Just come on in." Right? So LL performs this rhyme, right? And basically, Gap, and you can pull it up anytime you want. And goes, "Gap, Fubu for us, by us on the low." In the Gap ad, so. Remember, at that time, there was no social media. I think it was 97, 98. The Gap ends up spending $30 million airing this. And I'm looking in the office. I'm looking at this thing on the screen going, it's 5 weeks in. Nobody in that company, zero, not black, nobody in that company, zero, knows what's going on. So 5 weeks later, somehow they find out what happens. They pull the commercial. Everybody in the Gap gets fired. Everybody in the campaign, everybody on the marketing side gets fired. Now, here's something that's actually brilliant. They do their homework, and they hire a multicultural agency, and they say, "Clean this up." And the multicultural agency said, "Yo, I don't know. I live in the hood." Cass is talking about the Gap. They go and do their homework, and the target market they were trying to hit increased 300% because the kids thought they can get Fubu at the Gap. So they called me up, gave each other a big old sloppy white kiss, no tongue, and they end up spending another $60 million airing that ad. But I think the moral to the story is, when you have a dedicated artist or person or partner who, you don't want somebody who is being paid by Coke and drinking Pepsi. You want somebody who is living the life and really does it. And LL does not get enough credit for how many people he brought up in our community and in the world, because at that time there were very few LLs of the world, right? I mean, this guy was a platinum selling artist. He was who Drake is today, I would assume, right?
TVs, movies,
and you brothers know better than I do. You can obviously tell me exactly what that level was, but it also shows another purpose. If you don't have people that work for you that look and think like the people you serve, then you're always going to have vulnerability, especially in this day and time. And I'm not saying that only as a white and black thing. Listen, I don't think a white man can make the best hair product for African American women. I don't think a black man can make the best hair product for African American women. Right? I would think an African American woman
would know what needs to go in there.
You think? Hair, right? But maybe that's just me. I don't know.
We sound crazy.
I wanna fast forward a little bit, because
let's go.
This is all leading to a very special book we want to talk about. But to get to that point, I want to talk about how your success with Fubu, which, by the way, as a New Yorker, I rocked it religiously. Them long sleeve tees. Come on, man. But I want to talk about how obviously that led to a very successful career in business, which has now made you a world household name as a businessman, right? Which I think is also,
thank you.
I mean, just such a hard feat, because I mean, it's one thing to come out of your circumstances, one thing to hit once, but
don't start things to me. Don't start.
But I feel like longevity is a whole different thing, and knowing how to move with times and move with the different things that happen. So let's go from Fubu to how you transition from that. So I think people see you all the time on TV now with Shark Group, Shark Tank, and I think that just brings a whole lot of necessary education about business.
Is this where I do my pitch? I have a Shark Tank.
You got a pitch?
You got a pitch?
So there's 4 guys that host a podcast.
Yeah.
and-
I'm out.
yeah, okay.
He said, I'm out. out. We didn't even get a good shot. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I'm just praying hard to get. I go low, you go high. You know what I mean?
No, but the question I'm getting to is I just want you to talk about that next level of your career and what that has meant to you, but also the millions of people that are influenced by seeing you as a successful businessman on television all the time.
Well, I would be giving you a disservice if I gave you the warm and fluffy and stuff like that. It's been extremely hard in what I have done, but I also don't work harder than any veteran teacher, officer, person on the front line. I just analyze things a little different, and so first of all, I'm dyslexic. I got left back in 7th grade. I never went to college. My father left when I was 10. I didn't have a famous last name. I mean, I do, but if I call Elton John to tell him I'm his son, he's not going to believe me for various reasons.
It might not work out well.
I got called nigger and abused by the people that were supposed to protect me. I got teachers who said I would never be anything, right? I got arrested for being black. I've been through all the hardships, and I've been through a lot of things that we all been through, right? So I always just looked at things with a very simple lens, and no matter how much money I had or how big I got, and I made mistakes, of course, right? Spending a lot of money lavishly. I almost went bankrupt 2 times when I was broke. One time when I had $10 million worth of liquid in the bank. I had to learn financial intelligence. The school system doesn't teach us that, right? But I had to put my head down, and I failed a bunch of times. So when you see that, so Fubu, I'm just going to say something. So Fubu, I started in 89. I closed it down 3 times from 89 to 92 because I ran out of money, but it called me back. I wouldn't get public recognition until 97, 98. Then things happened. Planes crashed, hit the buildings. People started to nest after that. A hot fashion brand lasts 5 to 7 years. A kid, like all of us, they had, and we're not talking about the unicorns like Nike and Louis Vuitton. It had nothing to do with a black company. When I came in, Levi's was doing $18 billion. They're doing $3 billion now. I don't even know where United Colors of Benetton is, or Alessi, or Lecoq Sportif. They could be doing okay. But when a kid has 4 years of high school and 4 years of Fubu in his closet or her closet, when she goes to college, she wants to try something different. Her taste has changed, maybe, right? Yeah. So I always analyzed this stuff and said, you know what, I gotta look at me and take inventory of myself. Am I a great designer? No. Putting a big ass 05 and FB on everything, that's not a great designer. I'm a great distributor. I'm a great marketer. I have a lot of celebrities that will carry in crates for somebody like, I remember when Flex was carrying crates for a guy named Chuck Chillout, and you know what I mean, I can call that guy. I've been helping with these 3 girls that could never get a show named the Kardashians or Pitbull or Lennox Lewis or LL or any of these people, right? I can market, I can put it on people. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm not gonna go out and create a whole fashion brand, no matter how much money I have. Why? Because if I create a fashion brand, that's gonna take me at least a year to create a whole brand. Even when I was at the top of my game, what am I gonna do? No. I'm going to take a logo and put it on one shirt and give Hype Williams or Benny Boom or somebody $10,000 to put in the video, and I'm going to look at the phone to see if it rings. And then if it rings, then I'm going to run the line, right? So I started to understand all these things. I've always been a very simple person, right? Even as the young men and women that may be looking at this now. When I'm looking at Supreme Team and all these guys making money, I'm going, well, let me analyze as well. You know, an average drug dealer makes about $100,000 a year. In 10 years, that's $1 million. Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Out of the 10 years, 4 to 5 of them they're going to spend in jail. And the other 4 to 5, they're going to have to look over their back and they're going to spend it on lawyers. Wait a minute, I'm making more at McDonald's. So why sell drugs? Yeah. So when I analyze things like this, so Fubu then starting to slow down, so I buy other brands. crown holder, did okay. Brought Ted Baker to the United States. I failed. I had to give it back. I didn't want to open stores. I brought a company called Kappa USA, really well known for soccer jerseys, but soccer didn't take off. It's starting to take off now. I bought that in 2020, right? I bought a company called Married to the Mob. It was okay. Willie Esco did really well, but then all of a sudden I hit with another one that I bought out of bankruptcy called Coogee. Coogee was known for Biggie Smalls and various other things, but I remember I couldn't get a Coogee sweater. It was $700-800. But wait a minute, if I make jeans for $100, somebody's going to buy it, and the older generation is going to go, oh boy, you don't know about that. And so I already have the built-in marketing, right? So then I'm going to do that, right? And then I started to say, why do I always got to be the smartest person in the room? Why don't I do this thing called investing and bring in younger, smarter talent? I start doing that. Well, what happens? Somebody making a show called Shark Tank goes, hey, we need people in the show. We don't have African Americans, and we need somebody self-made. We can't have an executive from a company. We have to have somebody who can help the entrepreneurs who are self-made, because nobody's going to believe a big music artist who's dancing on stage all day because that's their day job. No, it's not like today where, you have a Kylie Jenner or a Rihanna. Let's go on the show, all right? So, but all the lessons I learned prior to that got me to the show, because when I got to the show, the reason I was able to pass the casting of the show, not because, it's still show business. I can have all the brains I want. Unless I don't know how to work the camera.
It's got to be good TV.
Right, it's not TV. So why did I have understanding of TV? Well, because when I would be on a video set with a Benny Boom or a Hype Williams or a Little X, when they're doing a camera change or a directional change, I didn't know what the hell was happening. So those videos took 2-3 months to come out. I got a video here and it's being shot or at a mid shot or a long shot or in slow-mo, whatever. I didn't know, and I have to pay for that, 10, 20, 30,000, right, to the artist. I got to wait for a month. Well, no, wait a minute. I'm going to go to New York Film Academy for 6 months. I'm going to learn how this is done, so I will save time to ensure when I'm on set, when they say camera move, it's always hurry up and wait. I know I got 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. When I go and look at the shot, I go, hey, guys, you're using the wrong lens. I'm not going to pay for this. Or move that individual up, right? Or in the edit, here's what to do. Well, I go into Shark Tank. Kevin and Robert were already on the show in Canada. They already knew how to work the camera. Laurie was already on QVC, knew how to work the camera. Barbara was already a correspondent. But I also knew how to work the camera, and that's the reason why I made it past the cut, because of that investment. So whether it's that investment of 10 years old, learning how to sew and stitch, that paid off when I was 20, whether it was that investment of going to New York Film Academy, in 2000 to then be able to learn how to work and pivot a camera, or the spots and, where the key light's coming or the filter, paid off in 2007. All these were small investments that I made earlier on in my life to give me the ability to pivot and see opportunity and take the opportunity when it came.
That's the definition. If you ain't got to get ready if you stay ready. Because, he stays ready.
We sound crazy.
So, Daymond, you've written multiple books to date, but I want to talk about your current book, Lil Daymond Learns to Earn, children's book.
Yeah.
For the kids.
Yeah.
For the kids.
But nobody's going to ask me about where I'm wearing this hat. You'll see cats walking around like
it looks good, so
I'm a guest in your house. You being nice?
You ain't got a question when it's stylish. Oh, you know what I'm saying? It looks good.
Well, I'll wear the hat because Little Daymond Learns to Earn. Thank you. This is going to be what I want to be known for the rest of my life. Is this agenda of teaching and bringing financial intelligence to all of our children at 5 to 10 years old. That's why I wear the hat, is because the kids see me on TV and they go, they're never going to relate to my $10,000 Tom Ford suits. They don't relate to that. That doesn't make any sense. But when I just left for school for my brother's keeper, and the kids asked me, the first thing they asked me, you going to teach me magic? Yeah, an average kid leaves their parents' home at 30 years old today. I'm going to teach you how to disappear out of Karen's home at 18. I'm going to teach you how to make $1 into $3. I'm going to teach you how to do everything you want to do every single day of your life, because you have that freedom. That's what I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you some magic. I'm going to sprinkle some pixie dust on you. So the stat and the data is that, especially in African-American communities, we know that there's some systemic issues that have been well implemented into us for many years, and we know that exists. That's just what it is, right? So we have a less chance of succeeding than most. Still the greatest country in the world, but there's just a reality of what it is, right? And it's fine. Have to deal with it. But as all Americans, we are still, our school system is still working like it was 80 years ago, where we are we're teaching kids like the industrial age, like we need to build ships. That's why we give them specific trades like shop and various other things, right? And or we teach them how to be good employees. But we are in the information age. So if we teach these children this type of stuff, but don't teach them financial intelligence, and then at 18 or 17 years old, they can acquire $700,000 worth of student debt for a career they're not sure they want to have, that they won't pay off until they're in their 50s, well, they're setting them up to fail, right? And it's not that I have anything against higher learning. You absolutely have to learn. But the data today says that 50% of the kids graduating today will retire with a job title that doesn't exist today. That's like telling somebody 20 years ago, you're going to be a drone operator, you're going to be an AI expert, you're going to be a social media, you're going to be a pay-per-click. They were like, what the hell is that?
That is, yeah. I don't know what it is.
Right, so my job is to bring financial intelligence. Why will this be my legacy? It'll be my legacy because when I die, I believe my little girls will say, my father created a conversation in this country that made other celebrities, banks, educators say, yeah, we need to start teaching this. And when they see that the schools in Nashville are starting to have a higher level of graduating and kids who are thinking outside the box, well, then Detroit's going to want to do that. And well, then Kentucky's going to want to do that. Right? And that's my job, to create this legacy. And a lot of people say, why are you doing it at 5 years old?
Why not?
Why not?
You teach your kids sports at 5 years old, right?
Music,
or you
else,
just put them on a football field at 18 years old for the first time with a big 400-pound brick-eating monster chasing you over a football.
And hope for the best.
When you learn music, do you learn it at 18?
No.
You learn theory and you learn various things, right?
Daymond, I actually just gifted my niece. She's 3. I show you the Amazon receipt. I sent this.
God bless you.
Just really because I'm big on financial literacy.
Yeah, it's a big
for all the kids and nieces and nephews, everybody. But this is so necessary.
Here's what's crazy. This is the only book that exists like this, period. You see, if you have kids, there's something about money. It's kind of like how it works. But this shows you how to create a business with friends, work within a community together, use each other's talents collectively. And unlike when I read Catch on the Rye, I threw away. Why am I looking at this? You know, when a 5 to 10-year-old, when they read this, I read it once. You read this every month to your child. The same way you kind of tell your child, hey, if you keep lying like that, you know what's going to happen. Remember what happened to the boy who cried wolf? Nobody's going to believe you. Same thing with this. Hey, you want that, huh? What did little Daymond's crew, what did they do to get it? Wait, Mommy, Daddy, you're saying to me anything that I buy, I can sell? Yeah. Anything that I do for free, I can get paid to do? Yeah. You know, I got a 6-year-old little girl. I am never going to tell her that I'm tired of reading Princess and Pony books. I'm not telling my little girl that she needs to wait and have a glass slipper for some prince to one day come around for her. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to tell her she needs to throw her hair out of a balcony, or somebody got to kill a dragon, and she's definitely not living with 7 dwarfs. I'm going to tell my little girl on how to create her own slipper factory, and I want the prince to come in and go, God damn, who owns a slipper factory? I do. And by the way, I got a job for you to open. It starts at minimum wage. You can work your way up, homeboy. You know, that's how my little girl's going to live, right? My little godson,
That's so good.
But that's the truth, right?
It's the truth.
Every little girl should do that, right?
It's the God honest truth.
My godson, I don't want to tell him that webs are going to come out his wrist. I want him to believe he can fly. And when he looks at the Avengers and say, man, they fought, Thanos. They gathered together. I'm going to say, no. I want you to think of your friends as the Avengers, because I got with 3 other Avengers and we created something called Fubu. I then got with 4 other people and created something called Shark Tank. We're having a whole lot of fun, making a whole lot of money, doing what we love. I want to teach our kids that. And this is something the parents can connect with their kids and do that with.
It's so good. It's almost like teaching the reality of magic.
It is, and you know what? As any entrepreneur, as every time you have worked with music and you didn't know if it was going to work, I didn't know this was going to work or not. And what happened? Became the #1 book on Amazon for 2 days, and that is in the country, but it could potentially have been the #1 book in the world for 2 days. Being the #1 book in the world for 2 days on Amazon means I can get them to open up Golden Corral at any time I want. I can cross the street on green, yellow, and red. You understand the kind of privileges that brings with me?
That's crazy.
But the book is doing amazing.
I can tell my wife I don't want to sleep on the couch. I want to sleep on the recliner.
On the recliner.
You got choices.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
So
I'm privileged.
you got a friend with you.
Yeah, I do see a friend.
Daymond Learns to earn. But, you know, being the best book on Amazon is great, but New York Times, 2 weeks in a row, I didn't beat the Easter Bunny. I actually bought one of those Easter Bunny books. It's called Self-Destruction, but I didn't beat the Easter Bunny. But other than that, you know what this means? America has voted for it. That's what it really means. Right? All joking aside, America has voted for it. I'm right now on the New York Times. I'm the only human, and definitely the only African American on the New York Times in this category. Everything else is bunnies and crayons. And that means that people, no matter what color they were, they voted for this.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
You know, so.
What was the process of writing the book? Did it take a long time? Was it a short process? How did that work?
It took a long time, and just like I wrote in the book, I used other people's superpowers. I didn't think or know that was going to be the angle, because I was like, I'm dyslexic, and by the way, 8 of the 12 sharks are dyslexic, right? But I was saying, well, women are the #1 consumers of books. I should write a book that's saying raise a family of sharks, so a mother can kind of instruct, because people don't know, women are probably about 60% of the controllers of what money is done in homes. They're the decision makers, right? I laugh about it, but when you think about up until the 70s, the car companies never realized that women were the #1 dictators of cars, right? That's why they had all those muscle cars, right? But they didn't realize a mother either goes, honey, this is the kind of car I want at the home because this is what I need. Or a woman was like, boy, I really like that car. Man, I got to get that damn car.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wanted to write a book like that for women and to control their homes. But somebody said, man, make it a pictorial book, because you know what happens? These big books you have that, thank God, have become bestsellers. They said, you got to work at that. You got to think about it. You got to read it. You got to be, you're an entrepreneur, like, or I did it already, or I don't want to be an entrepreneur. This one, and when I talk to people, this one, nobody cares about religion or politics when I talk about this. They all care. I don't care what they believe in. They care in kids. That's it. There's one unifier in this country, is that we care in kids.
Agreed. The book is for everybody, but specifically as it pertains to Black families and Black culture, we have a very interesting relationship with money and how we wrap our heads around it, how we deal with it as it pertains to people in our family, how we save it, how we spend it, how we invest it. So for that reason, I think it's a great book, because I feel
absolutely,
like just starting the conversation.
It's a conversation that we normally don't have, or we're
afraid to have it.
Yeah. We are. And why is that? Well, our parents don't come from legacy wealth normally. Right. So we don't know what's right or wrong. Now we have only in the last 5 to 10 years access to all information.
Yeah.
But prior to that, I went to the check cashing place.
Yeah.
The bank was right next door, but the bank, as far as I'm concerned, worked for the government. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I paid, I don't know, by the time I'm done with money orders and all that, I paid 6% of my entire salary just going to the check cash place, because I didn't know any better. I was happy they took my money, because we always were in fear that we don't have a checking account and various other things, right? It's always fear.
It's the fear.
It's always fear. And there's justified reasons for it, 100%.
There's historic reasons why we're scared.
It's very historic reasons for it. But at the end of the day, when I started, I almost went bankrupt twice, when broke, and once when I had a lot of money. Again, doing my analytics and just seeing, going, wait a minute, stats are that 65% of athletes and lotto winners are bankrupt 3 years after leaving the league. So that means they didn't know how money operated. And 65% of the Forbes top wealthiest 1,000 people are self-made men and women. that means they didn't have anything. So it's not money. And no disrespect about these legendary families, but even if you have money, if you're not taught how it works, well, then the kids who, and I'm sure there's many of them that are successful, but the kids who are the trust funds of the Fords and the Carnegies and the Rockefellers, why don't they own the Twitters and the Instagrams and the Teslas? Because the first generation makes it, the second enjoys it, and the third destroys it.
Whoa.
And it's just
Wait. Say that again, please. That was good. The first generation
makes it.
Second generation
enjoys it.
Third generation
destroys it. If they don't know how it works, and nothing against that, right? Nothing against those amazing families. They have done some crazy things in this country, but yet they have built this country. Cool. Yeah. But I'm just giving you data. That's all I can make up my own opinions. I cannot make up my own facts. And that's when I learned that this information is needed.
One of the things I learned is one of the big cultural differences, besides just the fear of money, is understanding kind of what you've led by example with is the resilience of not quitting, because there's a lot of shame that comes in along with the fear of failure with money, right? So there's this mentality like I got one shot to do it, and if I blow it, then I've embarrassed the whole family legacy, right? Yeah. Where a lot of my wealthier friends who were not black had understanding like this is money I can play with, and I can if I fail, I'll try it again. The same company, another company. And even what you said about Fubu, from like closing it 2 or 3 times and then finally seeing success in the late 90s, that's not really what I learned that later. That that businesses have ups and downs and they close and you open another one. Bankruptcy is not the end all be all.
The key to the success about all of those things are, if you don't know about money, well, you believe the number one reason why startups fail is overfunding, too much money. Because you believe to start a business, you need 50, 100,000, right? So the reason why Fubu failed the first time is I ran out of $500. I was able to rebound from that. So taking affordable steps, and what we've been taught or we've seen enough TV, go hard or go home. I'll give you an example, because if you go and get a $100,000 loan, your grandmother left you right before she died. She said, I'm going to give you the recipe to my cupcakes. And she gave you the best cupcake recipe ever, right? I mean, this has been passed down through years, right? So you go and say, I want to open up a cupcake shop. So you take a $100,000 loan. And listen, the cupcake shop, the cash register looks like a cupcake. The design, the whole building looks like a cupcake. I mean, you spend a lot of money on this place, right? But by the way, you never sold one cupcake. Oh my God, and the flyers and everything else, right? But then you find out, wait a minute, there's a kid next door to that place who has a peanut allergy. They got to square off 5 square miles because the kid, but you have peanuts in your cupcake, your famous cupcakes. Oh, you find out another little grandma down the block in the church, she's been slinging cupcakes like crack for the last 20 years, and you ain't going up against her. And then the kid with the software, every time they sell a cupcake, they put a cupcake in their pocket, right? You are out of business. You have 7 years worth of debt, right? You have financial stress on your home. You should have, instead of the $100,000, because you had a $20,000 website page, instead of that, you should have had a $1,000 Facebook page. Instead of a shop that you have a 7-year lease on, you should have had a kiosk on the weekend, or you went over to some place who sells champagne, and you would have said, when you're doing your champagne tastings, here's my cupcakes on consignment. And we make bigger mistakes. You see, money often can highlight your weaknesses in a business. If you have a weak campaign, well, spending more money on a campaign is any better? You watch Shark Tank too much and say, I need to make $8 off the jean instead of $4, so you buy more inventory and it's no good, it's damaged. Well, now you have more inventory in your garage. Money highlights your weaknesses, and a lot of people don't understand that, because the same mistake you made with 10,000 will be the same mistake you'll make with 100, with 1 million, with 1 billion. And that is the key to not understanding, because people have the ego, like, I gotta go hard. No, you do not. I worked at Red Lobster for 5 years while doing Fubu. 5 years,
Those them Cheddar Bay biscuits. Them cheddar biscuits.
Those were actually the reason I almost quit. Those biscuits. Cats like you would come in and eat those biscuits, drink a bunch of water and bounce. And I was like,
Them
yo,
biscuits are good,
I'm
man.
trying to get
What
a
can I
tip
say?
off the check. It was like, there's no fee. Dude just ate all the biscuits and left.
And no tip. No.
We sound crazy.
Hey, Daymond, I want to go back a brief to I think it was late 90s. Fubu had a record label.
We did.
With Universal,
talk
in
about
partnership
it.
with Universal Records. Like I don't know if people remember, but there was a compilation album. How was your experience as a label co-owner, that whole chapter in your life?
It was vicious.
Wow.
Man, them cats and the record industry. Nobody up here. Those
like-
cats was vicious.
Guilty as charged.
Well, yeah, so here was a theory. Then but I had a really great time. But we came into the game, but we profited off of. We had a good time, and we actually released "Fatty Girl" with LL Cool J, Ludacris, and Keith Murray, and we had a new single also called "Lights, Camera, Action" by Mr. Cheeks.
The Big Dog.
Huh?
Shout out to Big Dog, Charles Suit.
Charles Suit, yeah, absolutely. So we brought in Vogue back. We did a lot of. We actually gave this one guy his first 3 singles. Kenny out of Atlanta. Kenny Burns out of Atlanta found this little guy named Little John who gave us his first 3 singles out there, and they put on our the crew called 54 Platoon, and then we had another song called 50 Players Deep out of Detroit with somebody. So we had a good time. The whole theory of why we did it was, again, me and my analytical mind, I'm like, yo, I'm paying $6,000 for 30-second commercials on MTV and BET. They're starting to blur logos. Wait a minute. I'm spending $4 or $5 million a year on advertising. Oh, whoa. I'll put $750 on the album. I'll put another $750 in videos, and I will have 3.5-minute commercials running all around the country. And then when you go into a club, you will hear the song. You will automatically think about Fubu. So the album did okay, but we sold $80 million worth of Fatty Girl jeans, and we had a blast. And I learned that I don't ever want to get into the music industry ever again.
A lot of people say that.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that.
Crazy. Is there a song that you can pinpoint that speaks to the entirety of your journey?
Rising to the top.
Rising to the top.
Rising to the top, Kenny Burke. Actually, Bernard Wright was also from Hollis, but Kenny Burke, Rising to the Top, because, and I actually have a podcast coming out calling it That Moment. The reason is that as I'll talk to extremely successful people, just what you asked me, I'm going to go really deep in that song that was a pivotal moment of their life. And I remember I was standing outside a place called the Encore, and I remember a very well-known, it's called entrepreneurs, called Supreme Team, which pull up with their motorcycles, and they had these huge helmets on top of their head and these massive gold chains, and they would walk in, and it would be a guy named Grandmaster Vic playing, and he would keep going, doo-doo, 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 doo, and it kept saying, keep riding, and I just stood there, and I was outside, I couldn't get out, I didn't have any money, and I just watched them walk in, and the lights were glistening off of them, and I just remember now, I knew I didn't want to be in that world, I knew that I couldn't partake in that world. So every time I was on my sewing machine, man, it was Rising to the Top. If you're from Queens, that is your song. But so if I'm stroking the streets, I'm do 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 do. You know we're doing. You know, so Rising to the Top has always been that song. You know that took me right there.
We sound crazy. Esther Roll.
Award.
I can feel him moving, moving, moving. I can feel him moving, 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 moving on the altar of my heart. Every now and then.
I have this award here on our podcast. There's many you aced most of the segments, but this one is I think is the heart of the matter, right? So it's called the Esther Roll Black Excellence Award.
Esther
as an Esther Roll at Florida Evans.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
times, Esther Roll. And the reason we came about it is we discovered that she had done a whole gospel album
She did? Gangsta.
on Savoy Records called The Garden of My Mind. And so the conversation was like, yo, we didn't even, she's legendary, TV actress.
Of course,
legend,
100%.
Right? But didn't even fully know all that she had been doing her whole life.
Right,
That
right.
she was probably passionate about. So guys thinking like, man, we got to do better about honoring Black entertainers, people in business, people that in the culture that probably don't get enough love because, you know, for one reason or another, there's one person that's stealing all the spotlight in the room or whatever. And spend some time during our podcast just nominating so they all get some conversation, but giving that award to someone who we feel deserves some love.
Yeah, cool.
For what they've done and haven't been received all their flowers for. So how it works is really we all go around and nominate somebody, we all vote, and then we decide who. Sometimes it's unanimous pretty easily. Yeah. But the idea is that we have a conversation about people that deserve more love in the community. With that being said, it's time for the Herbies.
Time for the herb.
And I have the vote too?
Yeah.
you got to
nominate and vote.
All right.
Yeah, you're
I'm
part
gonna
of this.
nominate. Okay. Yeah, sure. You got it. Okay, let's go.
All right, Phil, you want to go?
I'll kick it off. This brother, he's done a lot, music, television, film. He's a good friend of yours. You've talked about him several times during this episode. I'm nominating James Todd Smith, a.k.a. LL Cool J.
I like how you think.
Because I don't think people
Big one.
realize how much he's done
Gangsta.
for
Yeah.
so long.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, have started in the 80s
Yeah.
and to still have hosted the Grammys and NCIS, everything he's done,
Yeah.
but even partnering with Daymond and actually believing and seeing something in that brother early on and saying, you know what, I'm going to use my platform to support you and what you're building. So LL Cool J, my nomination.
And I think he's doing Rock the Bells now, where he's giving portions and ownership to Roxanne Shante and
Wow.
Cool Herc.
So
Yeah,
good.
and he's saying right now that like all the other genres, who you go to a Rolling Stones concert, it's grandma, it's dad, and it's kids. We don't do that. You are either old school or new school. You go to a West Indian concert, everybody. And he's saying Rock the Bells is going to show you how we are all going to rock the bells together. So again, breaking this stereotype or what we're
Yeah,
doing.
that was the
So
man.
yeah.
I was going to nominate Hype Williams
Ooh, tough one as well.
because I feel
you
like
know?
visually and artistically, he made how we all felt and looked and lived larger than life,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
and made that something that the whole world could understand and emulate.
And most people, the directors, you know, Benny Boom is called Benny Boom because he was he held the boom mic on Hype Williams' set, right? Little X worked for Hype Williams, Jesse Torero, Hype Williams' cousin. So Hype Williams put on probably about 7 or 8 of the biggest. June Ambrose, the stylist,
homie,
worked for Hype Williams. So Hype Williams broke so many amazing, glass ceilings for us.
Yeah.
My nomination, I always have a soft spot for producers because I am one. So my nomination is the Dungeon family that birthed Outkast, they birthed Future,
ATL.
they birthed the Goody Mob and places, things like that. So I
love
want
that.
to nominate Dungeon family.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know the brothers as well as I would like, but so that I do not get in between Hype and LL, I'm gonna nominate Ralph McDaniels, Video Music Box.
That is so. We were talking about him last week, dude.
Yeah, for bringing.
If you were in New York, you didn't watch Video Music Box, then you didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah, Ralph McDaniels having a show almost the same time as MTV, being a community leader that stayed in the community and gave us all platforms, and every single music artist and rap for sure owes their a piece of love to Ralph for being that maverick.
He's so iconic, man.
Iconic, Ralph McDaniels.
So just to recap, we got Ralph McDaniels, we got Dungeon Family, we got Hype Williams and LL Cool J. We're going to take it to a vote.
Everyone, you can vote for as many people as you want, and the majority will win. It's pretty easy, but not that easy at all.
LL Cool J.
Show of hands. Come on, it's 4.
Unanimous.
4 mics.
Ralph McDaniels.
3.
Phil, you're racist. I'm judging you right now.
Hype Williams.
Ooh.
Is Hype watching?
Dungeon Family.
Damn, Chuck.
Y'all haters.
I mean, I feel good with LL. I feel very
I feel
good.
great with LL.
I feel great.
yeah.
I feel
great about it.
I feel great.
Congratulations,
All
LL
right,
Cool J.
congratulations,
Ladies
Al.
love Cool James. Let's go.
Yeah,
That's
let's
right.
go.
Ladies
Winner this
love.
week of the Irby. Let's go.
We sound crazy.
I just want to say again how much of an honor it was to have this conversation with you in Nashville, in the museum, supporting. I mean,
Yeah,
let's
Little
get a
Daymond
close
Learns
up.
to
Little
Earn.
Daymond
Your
Learns to Earn. I got like 10 copies I'm about to send to my
I
my
love
little
it, man.
cousins.
Thank you so much, man. And read it every month to the youngins, the future sharks. And you know what? After that, give it to another family.
Yeah, pass it down. We like to end with the song that you feel, our special guest feels, encapsulates the conversation, the mood, the day, the time, whatever. So we talked about a lot of music, so it might be difficult, but what song would you take this show out with?
Yeah. Thinking of a master plan. Don't hear the words right now. Sorry about that. Dish, my favorite dish.
Okay.
Paid in full.
All right.
That's iconic. Make sure you follow us on all platforms at We Sound Crazy and WeSoundCrazy.com. Make sure you follow our partners at the National Museum of African American Music, BlackMusicMuseum.org, as well as Visit Music City. Thank you for your support. But thank you, Daymond John, and thank you, Lil Daymond Learns to Earn.
Thank you.
Available everywhere. Books are purchased right now, online, Target, Walmart, everywhere. Everywhere you can buy a book. Barnes & Noble is available. Go get copies.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you for what you're
Thank
doing,
you.
brother.
Thank you.
It's been an honor. Till next time, y'all.
All right, we sound crazy.
All right.
Cheers.
Thinking of a master plan. Cause ain't nothing but sweat inside my hands. So I dig into my pocket, all my money's